So I'd like to talk obviously a bit about Skeena and Spectrum property, but specifically, can you introduce us to the Skeena Arch and the Golden Triangle and what's so special about the area?
Well, I think if you look at BC geology and you look at the grade of deposits and the size of deposits, the Skeena Arch, or what's referred to as the Golden Triangle, has actually contributed the most value to this province. Most of the country there is actually some of the most rugged country in BC. It's the hardest country to work, but there is pockets where the terrain works for you, and you got good locations, good access, and other places that if you find something, you'll regret it. I guess I could say I got lucky in northern BC, because I got involved with a property called the SNP first. And that was an old Cominco property that they had since 1964. They had it for about 20 years, but Cominco, even though they were a big company and had lots of wealth, they never seemed to find the money to put a drill hole on it. So after 20 years, we were able to take a little junior company called Delaware Resources and convince Cominco to option it to us to earn an interest. And we had enough money in that particular company to basically do the first drill program. We didn't have enough for the second phase of the same year. And thank goodness, the holes ran. And I'm basically a prairie type geologist. I spent most of my career in what's called the Precambrian Shield, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Northwest Territories, usually walking through muskegs, not walking up steep slopes and cliffs and all this stuff. I'm actually get vertigo on a stepladder. So I visited the property in running shoes. I couldn't actually go and look at the showings because it was too steep. I looked at the core, couldn't see any gold till the assays came. And we were winners. But Skeena was a company in our portfolio, in our stable, as you could say, that was looking for a good, high-grade, serious story to revitalize itself with. And Walt Coles and the other people at Skeena kept pushing me to do a deal, even though this guy is a very tough guy to do business with.
You got it done, though. And so the access issues, the park issues.
The park issues were resolved before we got involved. He was able to help with the Taltad, get the government to back off from the park area and give us an access corridor to the property. So that opened it up. The boundaries are clear. The boundaries are on the outside of our claims. And there's no overlap with the park with our property.
So that, this should have been drilled off before in your mind, but.
What struck us with that property, it was the similar style to the other discoveries. And it was essentially left sitting there from 1990, 91. So, where do you find a good project that somebody hasn't spent a lot of effort on? You look globally, people have gone everywhere and they have chased everything with possibilities. This one was sort of left over. It was lost in the paperwork, lost in people's files, lost. And this fellow was not the kind of guy that was easy to even find. That's why you like working some of these areas. They're areas where you go exploring and you get pleasantly surprised instead of unpleasantly surprised.
Can you describe in layman's terms a little bit what you mean by this? There's zones with potential at depth.
When you look at these porphyry systems and these intrusives that everything's coming along beside, they go to great depth, thousands of meters. And quite often the porphyries get bigger and better to depth. That's what's happening at Red Chris. This is on very high up on the top of a system. And if it behaves properly, like most of these systems do, it has nothing to stop it from going down for thousands of meters. We're looking at it saying if we can trace this down to 800 meters, we have a good chance of having a couple million ounces plus.
What's the plan and the expectation of the
Well,
summer program?
The summer program is going to be at least 10,000 meters, maybe 12 plus 1,000 meters of drilling. If we like the results, we're not going to be shy about maybe bringing another rig in.
Can you drill all through the fall and winter in a place
Well,
that's far north?
We did at SKE. I wouldn't do it again. that was a Murray Pesum special because Murray is a very good promoter.
He wanted those holes drilled, eh?
He wanted those drilled, and he drilled all winter, and it worked. But last year we shut down at the end of October. We didn't get going till the start of October, and we got our 9 holes done. So we can push it that far, and we could maybe even push it another month. And you can drill there year round if you really motivated. What we're looking at this year is to do enough surface drilling and trace the systems down and get confidence with the geology and our interpretations to depth, that possibly next year we would be in a position to consider going underground and doing a lot of exploration from underground. Because if we put an underground access in at the 800 meter level,
because of gravity, you're doing it. You can kind of do it.
And then we can drill it off all year round underground. And underground drilling is actually quite efficient. But the biggest challenge is actually have Mother Nature treat us right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you look at ore bodies and deposits and things. Some of them, they treat you real right, real good, and they don't hurt you. And there's other deposits that give you a lot of work, and you almost make it, but you never really get a good deposit out of it. This one looks like it's going to treat us right. I look at it this way. The industry's changing, the world's changing. When I've been in the junior resource business for a long time, but we work the other sector, or the other side of the street, which is 100% retail. When institutions start showing up, that's when we're all exiting stage left, and that's our win, right?
Yeah.
But there is no retail market right now in this business. So if we needed to try to get the kind of money that's now been raised on a retail basis, there's just no way people like me would have ever been able to find it. So we have to try another route, and as Walter's got the background and the expertise of dealing with institutions.
I'm sure your background in the area didn't hurt his pitch.
Well, my basic pitch on this project is I want to play in the technical side. I have spent a lot of my career raising money for little companies. It's never something I really liked doing. It's something you had to do. I'm always happier if somebody else does the jobs that I don't like doing and lets me do what I like to do, which is play and spot drill holes.
Well, I think to be successful in this industry, you have to have a great team, but you also need capital, and you need a great project, and you need leadership. And I think Skeena has all of those ingredients, which is why I'm excited about our upcoming drill program and excited about what Skeena is going to accomplish over the next couple of years. There is also a lot of conjecture about politics in BC. A lot of people have concerns with it, but I think that we take very seriously the company's relationship with the Tahltan First Nation group in the vicinity of Spectrum.
How have they been to work with?
Going back historically, the vendor of this property, with the support of the Tahltan, was able to get that park area boundary removed, which in essence revitalized the project. So right there demonstrates, I would say, business savvy on the part of the Tahltan to want to see the natural resources that are within their historical lands developed, as long as it's done in a respectful way. And our goal is to make sure it is done in a respectful way. So, we're very cognizant of responding to any of their particular concerns. We just did we redid the archaeology study last week because there was a request from the Tahltan that we redo it. That's one minor example, but we hope to work very closely with them in the years ahead so that this is a win-win proposition for them and the company. One thing I would talk about that I think is unique to our most recent raise, the $8 million raise, was we did not include any warrants or half warrants on the deal.
How'd that happen?
Well, I've come to the conclusion that is part of the reason for the ongoing malaise in the sector, is that too often investors are trained to wait for private placements so they can receive a half warrant or warrant. And the problem is that when they want to sell, they're going to go to the open market to sell. But if every investor is waiting for a private placement to buy so they get the warrants,
Collapses, yeah.
then it's a toxic structure that never lets a share price go up. So the other component to it is I'm not interested in the type of investor who insists on a warrant, because those are the type of investors who might be what I call flippers. They're renting you capital for the 4-month hold period, and then as soon as the 4-month hold is over, they're out. And they're going to keep the warrant for a free ride while all the other investors have to carry the burden of continuing to put capital in to advance the project.
So what kind of investor is the Skeena story appropriate for?
My view is that for private placements, we'll do those with institutions, because the institution cannot buy in the open market. We don't have enough liquidity right now for an institution to do that. My preference, or what I'm trying to encourage retail people to do, is go buy the stock in the open market. You don't have any 4-month hold period. If the drill results go crazy here in the next 2 months, they won't have to hold. They can sell.
Can you share like your view of a catalyst timeline for Skeena from July 2015 out?
I think from August through December, for sure, there'll be a steady stream of drill results. Then we'll have some updates on metallurgy along the way. We will also have the resource estimates come out.
So
that's probably
next year.
That's probably like a January, February catalyst. I think the most important point is this is really, really, really high grade. And a project that's 12 grams per ton that could be a couple million ounces is very rare. And that's why this is a special opportunity.
Tell me what it's like working with Ron. I mean, you've said the good. What about the bad?
Well, Ron's like an artist, right? Right. So, he's very demanding, and he has a particular vision of how he wants things done, and I think that's good, because it holds all of us to a certain standard. And my hope is that we will deliver, we will execute in a manner that is worthy of the project that he's brought us. You know, there's two sides to Ron. There's certainly the brilliant geologist, but there's also a good business person.
So you turned a lot of heads with this Skeena financing that was announced in early June, and I'm just wondering if you could touch on how that was accomplished.
But any investor, whether institutional or retail, wants to know, how am I going to make money here? So with the way we presented this to the institutions was, our interim goal this summer on the drill program is to get to 1 million ounces. And based on our analysis of comparable high-grade deposits out there, we feel Spectrum ought to trade between $30 and $40 million if we do that. Keep in mind that's an interim step on the way to 2 to 3 or maybe more million ounces. And as you move that resource confidence level up, the valuation per ounce goes up. Instead of being 30 or 40 bucks an ounce, you can move up to 70, 80. Look at Pretium, its reserves are trading at, I think, being valued at over $120 an ounce right now. So that's the up sort of the value creation path that we're launching on. But having said all that, this area of Northwest BC is an area that's full of upside surprises. And I specifically think back to Ron's success with Delaware and the SNP project, and then his success with SK Creek. If we have the opportunity to come back with some really stellar drill holes here that can change the whole game.